Welcome back into Sports Bliss Live. Luke Robinson flying solo for just a minute. Want to bring in my good friend John Garcia of Scout.com. He is at the U.S. Army All-American game in San Antonio, Texas. He was just at the Under Armour All-American High School game in Orlando this past week, so he is up to date on everything recruiting just like he always is. John, how are you tonight?
Cannot complain, my friend. Get to see football every day, and signing day is getting closer, and a big game next Monday night as well. So all's going pretty well.
John, we got to start this whole thing off talking about Nagi Harris. I don't think there's any doubt that is the most intriguing story in all of high school recruiting right now. Will it be Alabama? Will it be Michigan? He is a guy that shies away from the limelight, which is totally oxymoronic because he is #1 player in the country. But what do you think happens here?
You know, I've never seen a kid go through the process this way. Again, like you said, #1 player in the country, doesn't love the media, but at the same time isn't, doing anything concrete enough to sort of get the media away, which would be to pick a school and get it over with that day. So it's quite the oxymoron, if you will. I'm not sure where he goes at this point. I know there's positivity and optimism on either side of the coin. I know both coaching staffs, our scout sources have been in contact with over the last week or so, feel cautiously optimistic, but there's certainly worry, and again, along with that optimism. So he's really pulling the line here between Alabama and Michigan. It's as close, if you will, as it's ever been. I still think Bama has the edge. It's the familiar school. It's the school he's been committed to for 2 years. He's very familiar with the commitments, including Tua Tagovailoa, who told me today he's flying to Tuscaloosa right after the game on Saturday, and Nagi's flying with him. They're rooming together in Tuscaloosa. So, I mean, that's one of the most optimistic and positives for Alabama. But there's some, Michigan commits saying things in a similar fashion. So it's truly up in the air at this point. And he said he's not going to make an announcement. I'm sure the Army Bowl people would love for him to make the announcement to do the hat thing at the game, but he's not going to do that. He's simply going to play the game, change, say hello to his family, and then take off to his college destination. It's something I don't think I've seen or heard of at this point in the modern recruiting era, and he's not going to do any interviews that day either. So we may not even know until he shows up in either Tuscaloosa or Ann Arbor. It's, as you said, it's the #1 storyline in the country overall, and especially this time of year as we get closer to his enrollment date. It'll be January 7th, January 8th, no matter what, basically, so this weekend.
I imagine he will have a lot of people following him to the airport just to see where he buys his ticket, right?
Well, I would guess that both tickets have already been purchased. Now if he goes and checks in to get his boarding pass and all that, then you'll get the clear indication. But if there's going to be a stretch in ethics, it will come around Nagi Harris from the journalism perspective. I won't be included in that, but I think it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility in today's world of instant news. I don't think we'll have to wait until he arrives, and we may break the news when he's actually in the air at this point, but we'll have to wait and see.
You brought up Tua Tagovailoa. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm going to stick with Tua T, patent pending on my nickname created for him. But Tua T has been pretty phenomenal, it looks like, in some of these practices. He's really been dropping dimes. Of course, he's not going up against any competition right now, but I think he's really impressed in the Army All-American practices.
He has, he's sort of doing what he always does, but he's doing that stuff extremely well. I don't think a quarterback's shown a stronger arm this week in San Antonio, and he's had the throw of the day throughout, the first 4 practices. Yesterday it was down the line to Tariq Black on a post route that was just as pretty as can be with plenty of force, and today it was a corner route in the back pylon of the end zone to Henry Ruggs, who's a state of Alabama guy. So he's had the 2 throws of the day and the 2, best wow plays from any quarterback. He was probably a little bit better yesterday compared to today. Did throw a couple of interceptions today, but when he's decisive and knows where he's going with the football, makes that decision, the time between that and the ball landing in the receiver's hands has been quicker than any other quarterback. Still want to see a little more touch out of him, but his decision-making has been good. The arm strength has been great.
You brought up Henry Ruggs. This is a guy that I absolutely love. Saw him in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, returned the opening kick for a touchdown out of Robert E. Lee. He and Devonta Smith, 2 other Alabama wide receiver targets, are down there at the Army All-American game. How are they looking, and which one of the two do you think is standing out the most?
Man, that's a very good question. You know, I thought we would see them on the same team because Smith is from Louisiana and Ruggs is from Alabama, but lo and behold, Devontae Smith's playing on the West roster, and Henry Ruggs is on the East roster, and Tua's playing on the East roster as well, which, again, he's from Hawaii. So kind of the interesting, you know, roster selections there. I think both have been very good. They both, sort of like Tua, they've emphasized what we've already thought. Henry Ruggs, very good routes, explosive, really good after the catch. Devontae Smith, sort of smooth. Think of a Calvin Ridley type of player who you may not think he's running very fast, but, you know, you watch the tape and he's seemingly jogging by guys who run 4.4. You know, Devontae, he showed a lot of grit today, too. I think that was really the most intriguing thing. There's a semi-viral play that happened today. Richard LeCounte, the Georgia cornerback or safety commitment, jammed Devontae out of bounds and pushed him over a bench. And it was sort of this wild play, not only for LeCounte's strength and stick-to-itiveness, but for Devontae's safety. Devontae came right back and won just about every rep after that point, and he embarrassed some guys in the process. So he showed some tenacity there, some grit, despite what looked like an injuring type of play. So I like that a lot from Devontae. He really brushed it off after that. So they're similar in that they're frail guys, you know, 160, 170 pounds for each of them, both just over 6 foot. I think Devontae's probably faster, that top end speed. Ruggs maybe a little bit quicker, a little more explosive with the football in his hands. But either way, Bama would love to get their hands on both of these guys. And if I had to call it right now, I think Bama's in the driver's seat for each of their recruitment. But we won't find out where either's going for at least 3 more weeks.
I want to go back to the Under Armour All-American game for just a second, because a guy that I've loved on tape that was mentioned with Alabama early, he won't end up there. Everybody's worried about maybe some grade situations, and that's Jeff Thomas. Showed out with 2 touchdowns, and he's just got moves for days. I thought he was absolutely incredible in this game. What do you think about him? And I know it's not going to be so much a local thing, but do you think he ends up at Illinois? That's where most people have him pegged.
Yeah, I mean, I wish, you know, we just slot receiver rankings. This is something that I know I've campaigned for. Chad Simmons, who's my boss at Scout, we've campaigned for in the South. We want slot receivers to almost get their own category, because if we did, there's no doubt Jeff Thomas would be a 5-star guy. He is a matchup nightmare. He simply cannot be covered one-on-one by a cornerback or a safety. He's cat quick with his routes, and after he catches the ball, and everyone who watched this game saw him as he broke the game's receiving record. He's electric. He can set up a defender after the catch and accelerate with just so much consistency. He's a nightmare. He's simply a nightmare, to the point where his academics, I don't think, are going to prevent him from landing at a big school. I'm not going to say anybody's going to bend the rules, but let's just say I think other schools will find a way to get this kid in. No disrespect to Lovie Smith in Illinois, which is the in-state school for him, but I just get the sense that an Oregon, a Tennessee, Missouri, possibly somebody is going to sort of figure out a way to get this kid into their class of 2017 and see how his spring semester goes. I know Oregon did recently just offer, as did Tennessee. So schools are going to hit the gas for him. And this was before that game on Sunday, so it's only going to increase. I expect him to have a sort of wild and crazy January of visits leading up to his final decision. But I think this is going to ultimately hurt the Illini, which would still be the safe pick for him right now. But again, once those other schools materialize, I envision him ending up at just, frankly, a better football school, because he's that type of kid. And there's a reason he's a top 50 player in the country already on Scout.com, a number that certainly will not go down after what he did last week in Orlando.
How surprising was it to you that Xavier McKinney recommitted to Alabama when everybody in the world thought he was going to Clemson?
Yeah, this was a top 2 or 3 surprise for me, for kids who have committed to Alabama. He kept it a secret from everyone, including not only the Alabama coaches, but the Clemson coaches, his parents, his teammates. His high school coach, or an assistant at his high school, was telling reporters that he was going to Clemson. He did a story with another network about going to Clemson. He did an unbelievable job of keeping this to himself. He said he told not one soul that he was going to Alabama. So the Crimson Tide coaches found out, as the rest of us did, there on Sunday. And I think you saw it if you watched the game. His dad's reaction was, you were like, why is his dad so surprised? It's because he didn't know. He was so surprised that he started clapping, and he sort of banged on Xavier's shoulder pads in excitement for him recommitting to the Crimson Tide. I think that illustrates just how much of a secret it was for him. He didn't want it out there. He wanted to make a little bit of a splash, and he definitely did. He fooled just about everybody. And in the meantime, Bama gets a pretty balanced safety who can play the pass and the run extremely well, and a kid, obviously, that they're very familiar with.
All right, John, final question. Who do you expect to stand out this upcoming weekend, and who's going to make an announcement that may have a tie to Alabama or Auburn?
Yeah, not a lot of Bama-Auburn flavor. Some guys that they had pursued before are making announcements, guys like Foster Sarrow, who's the #1 offensive tackle in the country. And who knows, maybe the Army people convinced Nagi to drive the ratings with an announcement. I would suspect that would probably double whatever the Army Bowl ratings normally are if he decides he wants to make his decision on national television. But I'm expecting the stars to shine. This Army Bowl roster is loaded, including Nagi, including Florida State commitment Cam Akers. That's sort of the on-the-field storyline coming in. Who's the best back in the country? Nagi on the west, Akers on the east. The quarterbacks are also very good. Not only Tua on the east, but Jake Fromm, the former Bama commitment, who's now headed to Georgia. Hunter Johnson, the Clemson commitment as well. And Tate Martell, maybe the kid who's had the best high school career in the history of big-time football, certainly in this era. Never lost a game at Bishop Gorman. He'll lead the West team. So I think the game will be pretty fun. The quarterback, running back options on either roster is just simply scary to look at, and I think those guys will shine on Saturday in the Alamo Dome. We're looking forward to it.